So that's the Revolutionary United Front, which is the rebel forces, and also the government at the time. And the Civil War is responsible for beginning the cycle of poverty in Sierra Leone for many people, and also for creating many of the problems that we're talking about today.
One of those problems being the desecration of the Gola forest within Sierra Leone. The Gola forest is a habitat for many mammals, bird species, and unique plant species. However, because of the Civil War, many areas underwent illegal logging, and many displaced peoples from the war resorted to environmental scavenging, which greatly impacted the environment and caused biodiversity loss.
So nowadays, the country is politically stable, but we would still have to exercise caution when we go to the country to help them. So as a result, we decided to focus our aid in Freetown, which is the capital city of Sierra Leone.
Currently in Freetown, there are 1.2 million people in France. We will promote the fact that if you come to our ecotourism program, if you come to Sierra Leone, all the money that you are going to be using to enjoy this beautiful place is going to be put back into the growing of biodiversity. And when they come, they can see it for themselves, because our 11-year program will be happening already, and tree saplings and workers will already be working in the parts that were already environmentally degraded.
I'm curious about what kind of facilities exist right now for ecotourism. Are there a number of resorts? Because I noticed you have like a $1.5 million budget for an eco startup. So what's there in place right now, and what would that 1.5 be being spent on?
I think there's 4 major ones, and I don't remember the names of all of them, but I know one of them is the St. John's Beach, and then there's a chimpanzee one, but we don't want to mainly focus on things like the chimpanzee things, but we'll have things by the forest and by the beach for people to enjoy. And then, but what we want to mainly do is, with the 1.5, is to plan programs and new activities that are environmentally sustainable, so that they can go on.
But what actual facilities for people to stay?
Oh, there are already resorts and things like that present.
So you wouldn't plan into your plan to facilitate the building of guest houses?
At the
initiatives?
At the moment, no. But once we start, we can go off from what we have already in Sierra Leone. And once we have more people coming in, once the ecotourism is more popular, and any money we make from that, we can go into more building of things like that while still being environmentally sustainable.
Okay. Is there mining in the Gala Forest? Is there diamond or gold mining?
Yes.
Yeah, what happens there? Because as I understand it, I'm not an expert on the war in Sierra Leone at all, but as I understand it, a lot of the tension was around mining companies. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening there now with the mining?
Well, I think we didn't exactly go into too much research about the diamond mining, but I know after the Civil War, a lot of tension has already kind of been alleviated, and there's not as much of the tension over diamond mining. There's not as much diamond mining. But I think if we were to implement this solution, we could definitely look into diamond mining afterwards, once we get what we have in place already, and then try and solve that.
Jack had something.
You mentioned alleviating poverty in East Freetown. I just don't quite see the connection between like these ecotourism initiatives and like replanting the forests and helping East Freetown specifically. So I'm just curious what the connection is between them.
So, okay, the connection between poverty and kind of like...
Well, you mentioned East Freetown specifically, so I'm just wondering what's the connection between that, East Freetown, and this forest replanting?
Okay, so often the poor people will depend on the resources from the forest, so like medicine from plants or like fish, because Sierra Leone is really close to the coast. So the problem with the trees being removed from that area, that all the animals and plants kind of like shift away from that area. So then they kind of lose their source of income or, yeah.
And also with our foresting, because we're creating jobs for Sierra Leone, Sierra Leone has a really high unemployment rate at the moment, and because we are creating 1,500 jobs for these people that they can work, and then that will decrease them, or help them bring them out of poverty because they have a job.
How far is the Dallas Forest from Freetown? Do you have a map of the country? No? Did you show us a map?
It was in this specific.
Oh, yeah, it was a small map, yeah. Because it's a very small country. But do you know
Yes.
what the distance is between the capital and
I'm not
the
sure
forest area?
exactly, I'm sorry.
I was just wondering, was your solution to take into account the perspective of the people living there and like their government and what they think the best solution for the problem might be?
We've looked into that and they're already, I'm sorry, I'm talking so much. There are already programs trying to replant the Angola forest with the Sierra Leone government and the Bird Society that we mentioned in our presentation. So because they already have this, we were just going to try it. We've already kind of like created a detailed plan for it, and then but the government has already been interested in doing this already, and that's why we think it would be a plausible solution.
And lastly, James.
Okay. This was something that was mentioned about specifically biodiversity, where you said that it will involve removal of invasive species
Yes.
and increasing biodiversity. So first of all, how do you plan on, because this is a problem that's like everyone's been facing all over the planet, removing of invasive species. So how do you specifically intend to tackle that?
We try to tackle specifically plant invasive species,
Okay.
and then we will first go around the areas where we will be doing the replanting. So as some people do the replanting and the digging, other people will be starting to go into forest. And I know invasive species grow really quickly, but once we, again, once we have our ecotourism set up and then we have money coming in, we can employ more people to start removing all these invasive plant species. We don't want to do anything with the animal species just yet because we know that sometimes a lot of the solutions for removing invasive animal species is pesticides or bringing in other species, but we don't know the repercussions of that, so we don't want to do that, and we don't want to damage the environment anymore.
Okay. For the plant species, this is something that like actually happens, especially along the equator and nearby areas, and especially biodiversity hotspots. Removing it purely by manpower is extremely difficult. There are some countries that still use things like Agent Orange to remove foliage, and it does not work. Even that does not remove them fast enough because they grow so fast there.
Mm-hmm.
So like even when like the height of our deforestation technology like doesn't work, how do you believe like manpower, like you'll have to employ a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be really gradual.
Gradual?
Yeah, because we're replanting gradually as well. So.
I think that'll be all. Thank you so much for